There exists a version of you that nobody can shake. A version of you that doesn't flinch when someone comes at you sideways. A version of you that doesn't lose sleep over what somebody said at the office, what a stranger posted online, or what an ex-friend whispered behind your back. A version of you that moves through the world with such quiet confidence that people feel it before you even open your mouth. That version of you isn't imaginary. It's not reserved for celebrities, billionaires, or people who had some flawless upbringing. It's available to you right now. But to reach it, you've got to be willing to unlearn almost everything society taught you about how to respond to people. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of what you were taught about strength is completely reversed. You were taught that strength means speaking up, defending yourself, fighting back, proving your point, making sure people know they can't walk over you. And because of that, you've spent years, maybe decades, wasting your most valuable resources on people and situations that were never worth it. Every time you fired back at someone who wasn't worth your time, you gave them something they didn't earn, your energy. Every time you stayed up at night, mentally replaying arguments, you handed your peace of mind over to someone who probably forgot what they said to you the very next morning. Every time you bent over backwards, explaining yourself to people who never planned on understanding you anyway, you surrendered a piece of your power. That stops now. What follows are 7 psychological principles, ideas that were observed, refined, and applied centuries ago by strategic thinkers, and understood by powerful minds throughout history. These are not about turning you into a cold, emotionless person. They're about making you genuinely untouchable, putting you in control of every interaction, every relationship, and every situation in your life. Your attention is the most valuable thing you own. Most people believe their greatest asset is time, but time without attention is useless. You can have endless hours, but if your focus is scattered across drama and distractions, you'll still end up empty in the ways that matter most. Here's what few people explain clearly. Wherever your attention goes, power follows. Every single moment you give someone your focus, your mental energy, your emotional bandwidth, you are making an investment. And like any investment, the only question that matters is this. What's the return? What's the return when you respond to someone who disrespected you? What's the return when you engage with someone stirring unnecessary drama? What's the return when you spend hours of your evening emotionally replaying something a coworker said at lunch? The answer is nothing. In fact, it's worse than nothing, because you've paid a cost with zero gain. Psychologically strong people understand this deeply. They treat their attention like a serious investor treats capital. They don't throw it at every opportunity. They don't spread it thin across things that will never produce results. They are extremely selective. Because of that selectivity, their attention actually carries weight. When they focus on you, you feel it. When they give you their time, it matters. And that weight becomes influence. That becomes magnetism. The practical shift is simple. Before you give anything, your response, your time, your emotional energy, ask one question. Does this deserve it? Not, should I be polite? Not, will they think I'm rude? Just, does this deserve my attention? If the answer is no, you move on. No guilt, no second guessing, no explanation. The people who built real power didn't respond to everything. They responded to the right things. They built an invisible filter, and only what passed through that filter got access to them. Silence is not surrender, it's control. Most people have a distorted relationship with silence. We live in a culture that rewards noise. The loudest voice gets the most attention. The person who always has a comeback is seen as sharp. The one who never backs down is considered strong. Because of that, silence is often mistaken for weakness, for backing down, for losing. But that belief couldn't be further from the truth. When someone attacks you and you respond immediately, what have you actually achieved? You've validated them. You've confirmed that their words had enough power to pull you into the fight. You've stepped into their arena, played by their rules, and spent your energy on their terms. Even if you win the argument, you've lost something. You've shown them exactly how to reach you. But when someone attacks you and you say nothing, everything shifts. Silence, used correctly, is deeply unsettling. The human brain expects reactions. When someone throws a verbal punch and meets nothing, it creates confusion. They don't know what to do with it. They expected resistance and got emptiness. That emptiness begins to work on them. They start questioning themselves. Did it affect you? Did you even notice? Do you think so little of them that they're not worth a response? That uncertainty becomes uncomfortable. Meanwhile, you've already moved on with your life. This is what real strength looks like. Not the loudest comeback, not the sharpest insult, but the calm signal that says, you don't register. There's another layer to this. Every word you speak reveals something. Every explanation exposes what you care about. Every defense highlights your vulnerabilities. Anyone who wants to manipulate you will store that information and use it later. Silence gives them nothing. No emotional cues, no data, no insight into your weak points. You become unreadable, and unreadable people are incredibly difficult to control. This doesn't mean you never speak. There are moments that require your voice, your passion, your presence. But those moments should be chosen, not reactive. When you do speak, it carries weight precisely because you don't speak carelessly. The goal isn't to shut down, it's to ensure that when you speak, it actually matters. Scarcity drives value. There's a reason the things we want most are often the things we can't always have. It's not accidental, it's psychological. Human beings are wired to value what's rare and overlook what's always available. Scarcity signals importance. Abundance often signals disposability. Most people understand this when it comes to money, products, or status, but they fail to apply it to themselves, their time, their presence, their availability. Think about someone who was always there, always available, always responsive, always accommodating, always ready. Over time, how did you feel about them? Probably comfortable, maybe even slightly indifferent, perhaps even overwhelmed. And here's the hard truth, you likely didn't value their presence as much as you should have, precisely because it was always there. There was no cost to accessing it. And people don't value what costs them nothing. Now think about someone more selective. Someone whose attention wasn't guaranteed. Someone who showed up fully when they did show up, but wasn't constantly available. How did you feel about them? You noticed them. You appreciated the moments more. Their presence felt meaningful because it wasn't constant. That's not manipulation, that's human psychology. The principle is simple. Be present, but be selective. Show up fully when you're there, but don't be everywhere for everyone all the time. Stop being the person who replies instantly to everything. Stop rearranging your entire schedule every time someone asks. Stop making yourself so constantly available that people start to take your presence for granted, because they will. People take for granted what feels permanent and unlimited. Instead, let your availability reflect your priorities. Be deeply engaged when you choose to engage, but step back when something or someone isn't worthy of your full presence. This isn't about becoming unreliable or distant. It's about becoming intentional. It's about understanding that your time, your attention, and your energy are limited resources, and treating them that way. When you do, something shifts. People begin to respect your boundaries. Your presence starts to carry weight. And most importantly, you stop draining yourself for things that were never worth it in the first place. It's about being intentional. And when people begin to feel that intentionality, when they realize that your presence is given rather than guaranteed, your value in their lives naturally rises. They start putting in effort to keep you around, instead of assuming you'll always be there. You don't need to disappear to be appreciated. You simply need to ensure that being with you feels like something worth showing up for. The power of non-reaction is something most people overlook. Yet the most strategically aware individuals figured it out long ago. Your non-reaction can be more powerful than any reaction you could ever give. When someone attempts to provoke you, whether it's a direct insult, a passive-aggressive remark, a social media jab, or even a backhanded compliment, they are running a strategy. Whether consciously or not, what they're really trying to do is take control of your emotional state. They want to steer how you feel. They want to make you angry, defensive, embarrassed, or unsettled. The moment you react exactly how they intended, they've already won. You've handed them control without even realizing it. But when you don't react, when you look straight through the situation, when you continue your day completely unaffected, when you offer zero acknowledgement that their attempt even mattered, something interesting begins to happen in their mind. The human brain works through feedback loops. We act, and we expect a result. When someone provokes you and you respond, the loop closes. They see the impact. They learn what works and store it for later. But when you don't react, the loop remains open. There's no closure. Their mind keeps running the same sequence again and again, searching for an answer that never arrives. That open loop becomes mentally exhausting. It creates a subtle kind of obsession. They replay the moment, wondering why it didn't work. They start questioning themselves. All that mental energy they're burning is focused on you, while you're spending none of your energy on them. Let that sink in. They're fighting a battle you never even stepped into, and they're losing. This applies everywhere. The coworker who makes a snide remark and sees you smile and move on. The person online who leaves a negative comment and gets nothing back, not even acknowledgement. The former friend who tries to reach you through others and realizes their attempts don't land. Non-reaction is not weakness, it's a message. It communicates, you don't have influence over me, you don't control my emotional state, you are not part of my inner world the way you think you are. That message lands harder than any clever comeback ever could. Practice this intentionally. The next time you feel the urge to respond to something that doesn't deserve you, pause. Let the moment pass. Watch how it feels to let someone's attempt to disrupt you simply fade away. That feeling is real power. Quiet, steady, and lasting. Not everyone in your life deserves a permanent place there. That may sound harsh, but it's actually one of the most honest and compassionate truths you can accept. When you allow the wrong people to stay in your life, you don't just drain your own energy, you also prevent the right people from experiencing your best self. There are certain types of people you need to evaluate honestly and, if necessary, remove cleanly. First are the adversaries. Not people who simply disagree with you, because healthy disagreement can be valuable. These are the individuals who actively work against you. The ones who smile in front of you, but undermine you behind your back. The ones who downplay your achievements and quietly celebrate your failures. When you recognize these people, the natural urge is to confront them, expose them, or call them out publicly. You want fairness. You want the truth to be seen, but engaging with them gives them exactly what they want: relevance. It brings you down to their level and forces you to spend energy fighting instead of progressing. The smarter move is to remove them quietly. No drama, no announcements, no confrontation. Just stop feeding them your attention. Stop letting their presence influence your choices. Focus on building, growing, and succeeding. Your progress will always be a stronger response than any argument. The second group is the constant critics. These are people who don't create, don't build, and don't take risks themselves. They sit on the sidelines and criticize those who do. They are not your responsibility. You don't owe them explanations, defenses, or even your attention. Critics thrive on having an audience. When you stop providing one, they lose their power. Interestingly, The more progress you make, the more criticism you may attract. But that criticism often reveals more about them than it does about you. It shows their discomfort, their insecurity, or their fear of your growth. Your success doesn't need to argue with criticism. It naturally makes it irrelevant. The third and most subtle group are the energy drains. These people may appear supportive, but over time, they exhaust you. There's always a problem, always a crisis, always something that requires your emotional involvement. Conversations with them leave you feeling tired instead of uplifted. And whenever you try to create boundaries, you somehow end up feeling guilty. The truth is, these patterns rarely change. The cycle continues because what they seek isn't solutions. It's attention. Your attention. And you've been giving it because you care, because you're empathetic, because you don't want to abandon someone. But constantly pouring your energy into something that never fills up doesn't help them, and it slowly depletes you. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It's necessary. You cannot give your best to the people who genuinely matter if you've already been drained by those who don't. Removing these people doesn't require cruelty or confrontation. It simply requires consistency. Quietly shift your time and energy toward those who uplift you rather than those who pull you down. The reason people are able to get under your skin and influence your emotions isn't because they hold real power. It's because your internal system isn't yet built to filter and manage those influences. That internal system can be developed, and it's called emotional sovereignty. Emotional sovereignty doesn't mean you stop feeling or become detached. It means you decide what affects you, when it affects you, and to what extent. External situations will always occur, but they don't have to control your internal state. You become the one in charge of your emotions, rather than the people around you, the opinions of others, or unpredictable circumstances. Most people operate in the opposite way. Their emotions are constantly shaped by what happens outside of them. A small criticism can ruin their entire day. Being ignored can trigger insecurity. A disagreement can cause them to either lash out or shut down. Their internal world is heavily dependent on external triggers. That makes them easy to influence and easy to manipulate. The first step toward changing this is awareness. You need to clearly recognize what triggers you. What situations make you defensive? What comments make you feel the need to explain yourself? What moments push you toward reactions you later regret? What makes you seek validation from people who haven't earned that role? These triggers are weak points, and whether others realize it or not, they will press on those points. The person who reacts with anger becomes predictable. The person who seeks approval becomes easy to control. The person who needs to be right becomes easy to manipulate. Understanding your triggers gives you control over them. The next step is gradual desensitization. This means exposing yourself, step by step, to the things that once triggered you, but responding differently each time. Not by avoiding them, but by facing them with calm awareness. When someone questions your ability, instead of reacting, you observe. When someone tries to embarrass you, instead of shrinking, you stay composed. When someone attempts to diminish you, instead of absorbing it, you let it pass without attachment. This process takes time and consistency, but over time, something powerful begins to happen. The same situations that once triggered you lose their impact. You become steady, grounded, and increasingly difficult to influence. Eventually, you reach a point where external attempts to provoke you simply don't land. And when you reach that point, you become truly unshakable. Not because the world changed, but because you did.